Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech live on YouTube. It's been a week since we had our big 4 hour long iPad event coverage, and apparently this week is all about AI because OpenAI had a big event yesterday. Google had I/O today, which was primarily about AI. All kinds of acronyms that no one knows stacking up today, but I got to admit, I struggled to finish Google I/O because um, man, I mean, I'm sure they've got some models that they're proud of, but they do not know how to market. You realize how nice Apple events are when you watch a Google one. It's so stale and it's so dry. And that wasn't even the developer focused event. That was supposed to be the everyday consumer one. Too many phrases, too many names to keep track of. We had Google Veo, which is like their version of Sora. We had Gemini 1.5 Pro and Gemini agents, and oh my god, it's a mess. My head honestly hurts, and I'm not feeling great. I didn't sleep well last night, but all of this to be said, I wanted to talk a little bit about Apple's involvement because obviously Apple's big event hasn't happened yet, and a lot of people are wondering what's going to come of it. Having watching Having watched both the OpenAI announcements and Google I/O's announcements, personally, I thought OpenAI's was far more captivating, far more interesting. Not exactly sure if it was the way it was presented, but feel free to disagree with me in the chat. Hey, everybody. Yeah, TypeScript user says Google I/O was less interesting this time, and it's already not that interesting. But yeah, Google marketing team really needed to come up with some way to spice things up a little bit. Disagree with me if you want, though. I thought the OpenAI announcements were just a lot more down to earth. They were a lot more realistic slash relatable, and they really, in my opinion, showcased with a lot of different examples, and you can go on OpenAI's YouTube channel if you want to see, um, of how this new natural integration of a voice assistant that is also capable of seeing you or seeing the world and hearing you, and it finally feels like we're moving in the right direction with digital assistants. I mean, they probably don't like calling it that. They would rather call it a large language model and or a large action model, that kind of thing. um, but ultimately, this is what I think it really amounts to at the end of the day. Is it's a smarter assistant, a digital assistant, and one of my biggest problems with digital assistants over the years has always been the unnatural communication that I have to give it in order to um, have it understand me. And it's the closest thing I could think of is using digital assistants for the past 10 years has mainly felt like using a walkie talkie, where it's a very intentional, like, I'm talking now, now you talk. Now I talk, and you have to wait your turn. And if there's other sounds going on, that can confuse it. So you have to make sure nobody else is talking. Um, yeah, I agree with Youngman. OpenAI was much more practical and better presented. They showcased like more real world examples where Google I/O was just mainly a lot of chat and not even fancy animations, but just a lot of talk about algorithms. And they tried to show it relatable or what does this actually look like, but I didn't think it was presented very well. Like what's it called, Gemini Flash, the local Gemini that runs off people's phones. There was one where it was like, now using search I can show the turntable. Why is the turntable not working? And then just a giant wall of text appears on the smartphone display, and it's like, see, now search can tell you exactly what the answer is. And it's like, yeah, but not very conveniently. It's just like a bunch of web results and a step by step. It was just a huge wall of text the second I tried to answer the question, and I was like, okay, if AI is supposed to make things simpler, I don't think this is helping. But I guess there's only so much they can run natively. And OpenAI was more about like, hey, ChatGPT, like what's going on with you? And it would respond in a very human-like manner. And the impressive part to me was when you started responding to it, it would stop talking and listen to you. and take into context everything you said. So even some of the videos OpenAI loaded up, there's some bugs and some flaws. I don't expect it to work perfectly, of course, because it's AI. It never actually reaches the point of perfection. But um, what I remember being impressed by was he said, "We're going to see what Chat GPT can actually see and if she can describe it." So, as we all predicted, these other bigger AI companies can make software on an app, on an iPhone, or really any phone that can do pretty much everything the Humane Pin or the Rabbit R1 could do. It's all just software at the end of the day, and it doesn't hurt to have vastly superior hardware, like a much better camera, much better microphone, and a longer battery life. It's basically just all of the big issues with the Rabbit R1 fixed because it's an app like we all wanted it to be. But what I remember finding impressive about the OpenAI demo was that he's like, I want you to look at my face and tell you what emotion I'm having. And it messes up, which was interesting because he points it at himself and it goes, I think I'm looking at like a wooden table, which was actually an image he sent to ChatGPT right before that demo. And then he said, no, 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 wait, that's the last picture I sent you. I'm talking about what's on the camera feed right now. And as he said that, the second he starts talking, ChatGPT shuts up and is like, oh, I guess that's not right. And then he says, no, look at the actual camera feed right now. And then it goes, oh, sorry, that makes sense. Yes, I can see you're experiencing some kind of joy. You seem happy. You're smiling. And even though, see, now my phone's messing up. Even though it made the mistake of not understanding the context that no, don't look at the last photo I sent, look at a live view of the front facing camera now, the fact that he was able to fix it so quickly without having to do a Google stop. Okay, let's start again. Let's re-begin this thing. The fact that he was able to just cut it off and the machine was also able to acknowledge fault. The chat GPT was able to say, oh, my bad. I was confused for a second there, but now we're good. And it's just, even though it has its flaws, and I don't personally think AI ever really gets to the point of flawless, there's always these edge cases that we run into. The last 5% is usually 90% of the work. Just that real time back and forth interaction made it feel so much more natural to me. And that's something that I think Apple will probably want to integrate natively and locally as much as possible because Apple probably wants to make sure that their software advantages are not accessible on additional, hardware out there. And they're probably going to boast about their neural cores. They already have with the MacBooks and iPads and stuff. This neural engine is made for AI. So my guess is they want to integrate a lot of these GPT features because there has been talk from Mark Gurman saying that OpenAI and Apple are looking at partnering in some way or integrating ChatGPT natively. And that was another interesting announcement from OpenAI is that they are releasing a dedicated app for macOS. And the crazy thing about that is the Mac is getting a ChatGPT app before Microsoft, who is one of the biggest investors in OpenAI. And their reasoning behind it was, well, we're just going to where our users are, which I don't know if that's the truth. Like, are genuinely more Mac users using ChatGPT than PC users? I find that hard to believe, considering how many more PC users there are. But I wouldn't be shocked if it has something to do with the neural cores baked into Apple Silicon and OpenAI thinking. Well, I know a lot of ChatGPT is internet based right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if at DubDub we find out more about more large language models or potentially more large action models that can be run natively without the need of an internet connection or without requiring too much on high bandwidth. Do you think Apple would just buy out OpenAI? I'm not sure if they can because of Microsoft's investment, but I'm sure they're thinking about it. I'm sure they're talking about it. Um, let's see. I'm curious to how Apple will implement AI without angering their own creative consumer base, like what they did with their iPad Pro ad. Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a lot of generative AI features that kind of feel like a threat to a lot of the artist industry. Google seemed to be trying to integrate the two. I was a little confused by that. They were like, we're working with Donald Glover to make more, Google Veo is what they called it, which is their version of Sora. It's like text to video features. And this will help filmmakers make more movies. And I was like, what movies? Like the movies where no one talks and there's hardly a main character, because it changes so much depending on the text prompt. That's usually my big issue with AI text to video. Is it's really good looking and convincing for a few seconds, but it's not very consistent, and I struggle to see how someone could actually create even a short film out of it. But when is ChatGPT app being released? Well, let me pull up the article here. I believe it answers it for you, but I believe the answer is, for people who are subscribing to it, the app will be rolling out to ChatGPT Plus subscribers starting today, and this was yesterday. So I believe if you're a subscriber to ChatGPT Plus, you can already get it for the Mac, and then a wider launch in the coming weeks. So there should be a variant that is free a little bit later. And then with the simple keyboard shortcut, Option and Space, which right now Command and Space does Spotlight, Option and Space does nothing. You can instantly ask GPT a question. OpenAI press release says voice mode. This is weird. The voice mode will allow you to have voice conversations with ChatGPT. Stop. I don't need to see that. And then they plan to release a Windows version of the app later this year. Can you imagine Microsoft being the majority investor in OpenAI and then them saying, "Yeah, we'll add it to your stuff later. We're gonna give it to the Mac first." And also, all of the demos were on an iPhone, and they even had a student doing a. They had ChatGPT kind of act like a tutor, which was really interesting because the dad that's with his son there, using ChatGPT to help do his math homework or whatever, basically explains the parameters. Like, my son is struggling to figure this out. Don't tell him the answer, but help walk him through how to find the answer. Um, I'm sure most of the people using ChatGPT for productivity are on a Mac. Yeah, it's just funny to me that the Mac gets it first. And there, again, Bloomberg is reporting that there's Apple and OpenAI are collaborating, and maybe the Google Gemini deal didn't quite go through. Um, Programmers use Macs, Linux more than Windows, which makes me think they're aiming for the developer market. Yeah, that's probably true. I think you're right. The thing is, the dude at OpenAI demo was just switching the camera from main to front, and ChatGPT takes screenshots with some interval. Yeah, the fact that it messed up doesn't shock me, especially because it was like a live demo. This wasn't a pre-recorded event. They were kind of doing everything in real time. What impressed me was how easy he was able to fix it. The speed at which he was able to say, like, "Oh no, you're thinking of the last thing I sent you. Look at the front camera, like look at what I'm showing now." And its reaction was, "Oh, that makes more sense." And I was like, "Whoa." Um Still rocking iPad Air 2 at 16 inch. God save me. So US only, I don't think I see the download button. Yeah, I believe it is for now. Um yes, I did a video you can go watch over on Tailosive Life about how I lost weight. But yes, I did lose weight. I don't think Mac OS should be on an iPad or iPad Pro. That's fine. You're wrong, but you can think that. Is it because the Copilot is built into Windows? Although we do see this dynamic sometimes. I think that Apple Watch had a YouTube Music app long before Wear OS. That is funny how sometimes they prioritize Apple over everybody else. Um, it was impressive for sure. I just feel like we're finally seeing digital assistants feel more natural and human, which I always thought was my biggest issue with them. It's like it's taken far too long to get to a point where we can have a natural conversation with a computer the same way we talk to a human. And I thought this is what it should have been, years ago, but it feels like we're finally catching up to it. Imagine if ChatGPT for Mac app would edit your videos. I would love that. I still think that I haven't seen any demos proving that that's really going to be a thing, but even if it was, I predict that it would probably do a lot of it really well, but I would still have to supervise it and still have to intervene here and there and be like, "Oh, wait, hold on. You didn't quite get that." You didn't quite grasp this or whatever. Um, I don't know. Was I the only one not impressed by the Gmail AI stuff? Because I feel like we've had like summary features for so long. The new series, the AI assistant OpenAI showed up. I'm extremely excited, especially because Siri would be able to also control parts of the iPhone. That's what a lot of the large action model documents and papers Apple's been publishing have already talked about, of like not just talking to it, but telling it exactly what to do on your phone, and then it knows how to like open the app and launch things or change things. Um, I was impressed by, I don't know if impressed is the right word. A handy feature with Google I/O was like, say you just moved to Chicago, and I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, not a very common use case, but if you did move to Chicago, you could have Gemini like go in and change all of your, shipping and mailing addresses across all of your accounts. All right, that's kind of handy instead of having to go into your account on each app and each website and change it manually. All right, but once again, it's one of those generative AI features, so it can make mistakes or it can make references that you don't completely trust, and so it's one of those things that you'd probably have to double check on anyway before you completely feel convinced in it. Um, let's see. It kind of makes sense for developers to prioritize Apple platforms. Apple users spend more money on average compared to Android PC users. Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying it's funnier knowing that Microsoft is like the biggest investor. That's all I'm saying. It's kind of ironic. After the huge fumble with Gemini and its inaccurate image search results, I hope Apple will just go with OpenAI. They're probably weighing out both, I imagine, but at this point, especially with the way OpenAI was demoing Apple hardware across the board, all of their phone demos were using iPhones. Their AI tutor demo was using the iPad, and then they launched the Mac app and said, Windows will come later. It's not important. And the talk from Bloomberg about Apple's partnership with OpenAI. When AI can pay my bills, I'll be happy. No, AI will become a new bill for you, right? Um, I don't know what's causing it to do that. And I watched OpenAI right after Google. Such a contrast, so relaxed. Hosts are just sitting there and asking ChatGPT questions, and Scarlett Johansson voice immediately speaks back. Crazy. Yeah, they definitely got the impressive factor down, in my opinion. Google IO does not know how to wow a crowd, or at least they didn't today. I've seen things in the past that everybody flipped out about, but then, like most things with Google, it never really goes anywhere. What was it called? I think it was Google Duplex. Was it Duplex? What was that thing? It was years ago now. I want to say it was 5 years ago, but Google would like make a phone call on your behalf, so you could like book an appointment using the Google Assistant, and people were like, "Wow, this is amazing!" And then it just a couple people used it, but a lot of places were against it, and a lot of places didn't allow it or thought it was creepy. And then, how often does anybody use that feature? I mean, the call screening stuff is cool, or using the on-device model to detect a scam call. I could see that being helpful and useful. Although I would hope that you could get the scam call warning before the call even comes, instead of analyzing the entire phone call and saying, "Hey, he just said something that's scammy." Which makes me wonder, if you had that phone call with just one of your friends and then they said something like, "The bank wants you to move your money to this account for safety," would it also say they're a spam call, even if it's a friend you've had in your contacts for a while? We podcast listeners need the mixing to be louder. I have to turn it up so high. I I've tried over the years. I mix it up back and forth. I know. I'll try my best. I do apologize. I'm not um, the best audio mixer. I'll try to be better, but um, I've had a lot of people complain that it's too loud in the past. So I dialed it back, and I guess I probably dialed it back too much, because I've always felt like, well, quieter is probably better than louder. But then, yeah, the ads are much, much higher. I know. It's frustrating. Hey, if you have YouTube Premium and you watch the podcast on YouTube, there's no ads. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You do you, but we do have a way to watch the podcast that we still can monetize, and there's no ads. But uh, let's see. It was Google Duplex. Okay. Imagine Microsoft isn't too happy with OpenAI leaning towards Apple. Yeah, they'll probably get a stern talking to, but I'm sure they still can access a lot of AI, OpenAI's software. Should I just turn it off? Continuity camera is just not feeling it today. Um, if it could only pay my bills. It is kind of creepy how similar the voice assistant is to the movie Her. It almost feels intentional. It's one of those things where similar to like Boston Dynamics. They're like, we need to reveal our new humanoid robot to the world, and they just make it do the creepiest freaking like, legs bending backwards motion ever, and it's like, wow, you really didn't try hard at all to make this creepy. And I get that they want the assistant to be human and natural and stuff, but especially when it starts laughing, or they're saying at the announcement like, well, actually right now we're announcing some new ChatGPT features, so we're talking about you. And when they talk about it, how it reacts to that, how it gets like embarrassed. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm turning this off. It's just continuity camera is not working today. We got to use the webcam. It just works. Dang it. iPhone, what's wrong with you? Anyway, um let's see. Premium is great. I listen on Apple Podcasts. Isn't that better for revenue? Don't worry about it. We get paid from YouTube Premium. I don't know how it compares to Apple Podcasts, but if there's less ads and we're getting paid for it, then I'm in favor of that. Um, but when it starts getting like self-aware, when it starts saying like, "Oh, me? We're talking about me?" It's like, okay, this is getting a little weird. It's getting kind of dystopian. Um, I need AI to help me out files into folders and zip files or unzip files. Yeah, I guess I could see, especially for people who have disabilities, I could see this being particularly useful. Describing things to people who can't see as well, or people who can't control their computer because they don't have, full control over their hands, or maybe they don't have hands. Being able to do more and more stuff with voice is, of course, awesome. The one demo where the guy puts a hat on and asks how it looks blew me away. It was genuinely insane how human it was. Yeah, I'm sure they're still demoing a bunch of stuff that makes it look good. I'm sure there will be a bunch of edge cases we discover when it's out in the public and everybody's using it. Sorry, I'm just gonna pick this up. So I'm sure that there's a certain amount of marketing and good looks they're wanting for, but as someone who's been fairly doubtful slash skeptical on AI, this is the first time in a good long while that I can genuinely say, okay, I'm kind of impressed. I'm not I'm not like this is going to take over the world, and I also think that this is the best implementation of large language models. I've always felt like, a chat bot can only do so much. And I think it's particularly useful for people in education, or especially people doing coding. It's helpful to be able to like kind of throw your code in there and say, what can I do to help with this, or how can I fix this? And I was like, I think the best use case for a lot of these large language models is going to basically just be make far smarter, far more natural digital assistants for our existing hardware. I still personally don't believe that any of the stuff they've demoed is like, well, once we put all that in a AI pin, we won't need a phone anymore. I'm like, no, that phones are handy. Phones are affordable, they're cheap, and they're practical, and they're addictive anyway. So even if you want to try to replace it with some other form factor, it's probably not going to take off because any form factor you come up with isn't going to be as addictive. Um, oh yeah, GPT 4.0 is mostly available already, the model itself, but not the voice chat feature. Right. That's going to take some more time. But um, seeing it as it's meant to be used as an app, as a software feature, I think is giving me like, okay, see, this is how this technology should be utilized, right? That's basically how I'm reacting to it, instead of this seems like a lot of hype. Same thing with the text to video. I feel that way about Google Veo now. This is just like, this is going to be one of those really impressive things that just doesn't really go that far. It's kind of like Google's. I mean, so many Google examples of things that didn't go anywhere. Hey, Chris Norton, thank you very much for your super chats. He's by far the most generous donor on the channel. So feel free to just type in the chat. You don't have to super chat. I'll try to read your message. It should be pretty easy to see you. But seriously, you've been far too generous, so I don't want you to donate anymore because you're far too kind. Do you see iPhone 15 series is one of those phones that would age gracefully because it's USB-C? Yeah, I think I did videos on that in the past. I think USB-C will last longer than Lightning, so I think it could easily be a multi-decade long port for smartphones. And now that the iPhone 15s have them and they've got 3 nanometer architectures and all this great stuff, yeah, I think it will probably age better and more graceful than any other iPhone. But it depends on your definition of aging, because I'm very sure Apple will probably software lock a lot of AI features or generative AI features to newer hardware and say, oh, you can't do this on the older silicon. You need the new phone to do that. So if you consider that, oh, it's aging poorly, then yeah, it's kind of up to Apple. Um, Going to Dub Dub as a Swift Student Challenge winner this year. Wonder what AI Apple would come up with. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you meet some friends or have a good time, and it's a memorable experience for you. Congrats. Technology has been trending for the devices to do more and more, replacing older devices slash tools. AI pins are literally the opposite of that trend. So why people think it'll succeed? I agree. I don't personally understand how these companies got as far as they did. Um, I I have always felt as soon as I saw them, I remember before they even unveiled the AI pin, there were people saying, oh, there's these former Apple employees that are working on this next generation thing that's supposed to replace the smartphone. And all these people worked on the iPhone. And I was like, but what could it be? Like, what could possibly be that disruptive? The smartphone is kind of a invention of the century. I don't think it's the type of thing that gets replaced like that. It's too dang practical and it's too dang functional at so many things all at once. And they were teasing about this projector thing before they even unveiled the pin. They were showing like, look, it can put the time on your hand, and I was like, that's not that's not gonna be a smartphone replacement. If your whole selling point with the hardware is that it helps you use it less, it's not going to take off. Um, anyway, do I think iPads that have 1, 2 terabytes or two will have Mac OS? Who's to say? Probably not, but I'm going to keep. It's not going to stop me for asking for it. I still think it's a good idea. And in the past, I've asked for things over and over again that Apple eventually added. So I don't see any reason to stop asking for it. You know, Drew is learning to code Swift worth it because I want to be a developer and are the new iPads enough? No. No to both questions. No, I don't know. I'm not a software engineer, as you can tell. I don't know what I'm talking about most of the time, in fact. But you should talk to ChatGPT. Maybe they'll tell you if it's worth it. But yeah, I don't know. There's all I can tell you in general, as far as like pursuing jobs and careers. From what I've learned from lots of my friends in the workforce that have gotten jobs in places they didn't expect or had a hard time finding jobs in areas they thought they would get hired, there's no guarantees. So I encourage whatever you do, whatever industry you go after, try to be versatile. Try not to make your talents or your education too highly specialized, you know. Try to try to dwell more on more broad, be a problem solver for lots of different things instead of just if you don't know how to do something, try your best to look up how can I find the answer or how can I teach myself. Is this something I'm capable of doing or is this something I need help with? Um, Thank you for the 33 months of support, Alpha. The AI trend is so boring. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. It's the latest thing. It's very easy. It's 10 times easier to say what people shouldn't make videos on. In case you missed it, most people don't watch every video that's ever uploaded, right? There's all that we just on a daily basis, most of us probably watch only 1% or less than 1% of what's actually posted to YouTube. Very easy to come up with things that we shouldn't talk about. Very hard to think of topics and subjects that we should talk more about. I did 3 iPad videos in a row diving into the whole iPad thing. I think I've said everything that I feel about the new iPads. We've had two AI events in a row this week, so I was like, yeah, I haven't done a live stream in a while. And usually, whenever I do a live stream, people ask AI questions. So it's not the most exciting information, in my opinion, but I'm I'm a tech channel covering what's going on in tech. So if you're gonna learn Swift, then you can do that just fine on the cheapest iPad. But if you're gonna spend $1,000 on a Swift machine, get a MacBook Air. I thank you. Burkhart said exactly what I was thinking. Um, like, yeah, Swift Playgrounds technically. I don't know. I just think if you're gonna learn to code, isn't it better to just learn it on a machine that can actually publish apps? Yeah, if you really just want to learn the basics, then absolutely you could do it with a $200 iPad. You could probably learn Swift Playgrounds, but yeah, I would not recommend spending $1,000 on an iPad Pro to learn how to code. Um, with that kind of money, you could buy a Mac. For much less money, you could buy a Mac and have access to fully unlocked Xcode and learn how coding probably really works instead of. I'm just so sick of the iPads being treated as a children's thing. Even OpenAI is doing it, right? They only bring out the iPad when it's a kid doing homework. Oh, homework? Bring out the iPad. It's for children. It's like, yeah, it's for children, but then you sell like a $2,000 iPad. Come on, it's a little ridiculous. There is Swift Playgrounds for Mac too. That's true. If you plan on actually using a keyboard, get a Mac. I feel like if you don't plan on using an Apple Pencil, I wouldn't get an iPad. I think the Apple Pencil features are pretty much the main reason to get an iPad. I don't see there being much motivation outside of that. It's like I draw or I do note taking. If you don't do either of those things as a media consumption machine, it's pretty good, but it's just, I'm sorry. I know people try to act like OLED and mini LED are these giant night and day differences, but I gotta tell you, like in the real world, you hit play. Okay, maybe the black bars are a little grayer on an LCD, but it doesn't change that much. It's not worth spending $400 just to have the little black bar be a little darker. You know, come on, let's get real. I already have an M1 13-inch MacBook Pro, so I think that's more than. Oh yeah, you're fine, dude. That's plenty. Mitha Fernando, thank you for 20 months of support. You guys are awfully generous. I have the most generous fan base in the world, so thank you, thank you, thank you. I did not buy any new iPads, no. I'll probably go to an Apple store at some point and play around with it for a while. But I think I'm reaching the point where I might stop buying things that I don't intend on keeping. I don't know. Is that bad? I know a lot of people don't like the he's gonna return it thing, which I don't think is that bad, but it does reduce, it does increase the amount of waste, and there's more shipping, and you got to print out labels and return them and stuff, and they have it on display at the Apple Store anyway, and I can try out all the new features, and then I've done that. Make a whole video on the iPad. I've done that so many times now, guys. I don't know if I really want to do that all over again. I know that you can do it. It's just much slower and it takes much longer and it's more expensive. Yeah, YouTube can teach you how to code. I know that. The lack of spotlight on iPadOS during the small keynote tells me that DubDub will have some nice surprises for this platform. Yeah, I think Apple's usually the company very good at taking a new technology that's kind of well known in the nerdier communities. It's more well known in the tech community, but Apple finds a way to make it mainstream, like AI just got real, that kind of thing. And that's why I think most people are interested in DubDub. Like, how exactly is Apple going to translate all of these new technologies into a mainstream market so that it's not just for developer use, it's not just for the techies, it's not just for the nerds, but like everyday people are now going to start using large language models. Let's see. I really hate iPad. I don't hate them. I don't think they're for me, and I highly advise against spending lots of money on them. Even though it does sound like a get off my lawn, it's unbelievably expensive. Not for the components, but for what you can use it. It's a lot of money for. Well, it's a little bigger than my phone. It's like most of you are probably using big old iPhones now, right? Most of you are on those pluses and maxes, and you can hold it and watch whatever you got to watch. And a laptop can be just as good of a media player, arguably better because of the better battery life and the better speakers. I watch a lot of content on my MacBook Pro, honestly, and it's wonderful. The one thing I wish Mac OS had that iPad OS does have is how easy it is to share audio between two sets of headphones. Whenever my wife and I would travel and fly, we'd want to put in both of our AirPods, and the iPad made it really easy to just share the audio between two pairs of headphones. The Mac is very complicated. You have to go into audio MIDI settings and hit a multi-output device and select both of them, and then you can't change the volume of the AirPods, whereas on the iPad you can just go into Control Center and adjust the two. That's the one thing, and they could totally add it to macOS. They just haven't yet. Um, who do you think will be the new CEO, and who do you want it to be? The latest rumor is John Turnus, which I was very happy to hear about because that's actually that was who I recommended. I think Burkhart was recommending him for a while, but basically, he's one of the youngest Apple executives. He's the senior vice president of hardware at Apple, and I think the hardware team has just been amazing. Most of our complaints with Apple usually come down to software, but John Turnus was kind of the guy who transitioned the Mac to Apple Silicon and brought back the legacy ports and brought back the Magic Keyboard, got rid of the Touch Bar. So he's got experience when it comes to listening to customer feedback and giving the people what they want. So Tim Cook is getting up there in age. I don't think he necessarily will retire this year or next year. Who knows what he's thinking? But still, he's getting older, and I think John Turnus has done a fantastic job with the hardware at Apple, and he's been at a lot of Apple events already. So I would be very happy if he took over. Um, Only reason you would need to buy an M4 iPad to review would be if DubDub introduces macOS features, and that's a big if. Yeah, it'll be a different story if they come out with a bunch of new stuff with iPad OS that's really interesting that I could do videos on. But as of right now, it's just new hardware. Nothing about the software really changed, which means I would come to the exact same conclusion I came to on my last iPad review. Um, let's see. macOS feature weed feature request. Easier multi-output audio without MIDI app. Yeah, it should just be in Control Center, you know? Just like the sound, you should be able to drop it down and select multiple pairs of headphones. It's just like how it works on our iPhones and our on our iPads. It would be fairly simple. Just thought a 13-inch Pro. I'm a landscape designer, and the new pencil and chip are great for what I do. Honestly, the non-OLED light bleed is terrible, and I'm excited about that. Well, at least it sounds like you know why you need it, which I'm okay with. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to say that like I'm mad at anybody who buys the new iPad. My point is that I want to make sure anybody who's considering buying a new iPad knows exactly why they're getting it. That's my ultimate goal with those don't buy new iPads videos is like if you disagree with me, it's because you have to have a legitimately good reason. And that one, like Montana Baldwin is saying, landscape designer, so he's probably using a pencil and a stylus a lot. And he likes having that touch interface because it's probably not as easy to do landscape design on a keyboard and mouse. He knows what he wants. He knows what he needs. So it prevents the people from just saying, "Oh, I don't. I mainly use it as a Netflix machine, but it looks shiny and cool, so let's go out and buy one." And there's so much of the tech community that kind of perpetuates this whole like new thing, good. Let's go out, buy new thing, buy the latest thing, and it's not good for buying behavior. Honestly, it's not good for the environment if you want to talk sustainability like Apple does all the time. Um, so if we don't intentionally kind of push against that narrative, then I think a lot of people are going to spend tons of money on stuff they don't need. Um, has anyone tried bending the iPad Pro yet? Oh, I'm sure they will. I haven't seen one yet, but I'm sure we'll see it everywhere. Um, yeah, it took a long time. There were so many rumors about the OLED on iPad. It was for years and years and years, and we're still waiting for the OLED on the Mac, but I'm sure it's coming. It might even be a dual stack, just like the iPad. Wow, holy crap. That's a unnecessary super chat from Demetha. It says, should I drop a $2,500, I assume, on an M4 iPad setup so I can show everyone that I'm better than them? This is a great question. I'm so glad you super chatted that. Oh, that was worth it. Yes, for superiority. Obviously, I spent more money on my Mac than you did, so I'm a better human being. That's how that works, right? I think we're all on the same page there. Even Apple TV has multi AirPods audio. Does it really? I've never tried that. Maybe it's because I, live with my wife and pretty much no one else, so that that keeps it simple. Um, my only Martin Gel, 33 months of support. Seriously, how did I get such a lucky job? You guys are so generous. 33 months of support. Um, what did I think of the iPad Pro ad? Thought it was fine and outrage was overblown, or were the criticisms of it warranted? I think it's a little hypocritical with the way Apple presents themselves as a, the amount of stretches Apple will do to reduce waste and to be sustainable and repurpose things, to then turn around and do a reveal ad where they had to go out and find a bunch of cool stuff to destroy it. Uh, yeah, it's a little hypocritical. If they were not such an environmentally focused brand, I could understand why people would say, you're overreacting. But Apple like removed stickers from the box to help reach their carbon neutral goals. And, the leather is bad for accessories, so we're switching to fine woven and, all these weird little like, it's got to help the environment moves. It's not a great look to then turn around and it's like, oh, we took all of these ads and I mean not ads. We took all of these items and tools and artistry things and just destroyed them for an unveil video. I think even if you weren't offended by it, it's still a bad unveil. Like it didn't like personally offend me, but the fact that it upset a lot of people is a sign that yeah, you probably didn't do that well because Apple's not trying to be controversial or divisive, which is why they apologized for it. And I would say the outrage was fair. It's just a little hypocritical for a company that makes those little cost cutting measures to say, "Oh, this helps for the environment," and then it's like you could have unveiled it probably without ticking off a bunch of people. Um, anyway, thank you for 33 months of support, though. LumaFusion on iPad Pros have changed the game for me. It's seriously Pro and Procreate. I've used them both. I've used both those apps. Hasn't made me want to switch from my Mac though. A Mac is still substantially faster, and it's not because of the silicon. It has nothing to do with the heat sink. It has nothing to do with the cooling. It's purely a software difference because LumaFusion has to be touch optimized first, and there's only so much they can put within the confines of iPad OS. You can ask for the stickers at an Apple store. Oh, brother. I'll get an M2 Air. For me, it'll be less than budget iPad. Faster USB-C is worth it for me. I just don't understand why you would get an M2 Air over a refurbished M1 iPad Pro. Unless you really, really want that hover feature. You can get double the refresh rate, double the storage, Face ID instead of Touch ID, faster. You can get a Thunderbolt port. If you really care about a faster USB-C port, the M1 iPad Pro is faster than the new M2 Air. And if you go with the 12.9-inch variant, it's mini LED. All that for about the same. I don't know. They will bring back Mother Nature. Yeah. If you're going to do a skit about Mother Nature, then it's kind of weird to destroy a bunch of things. I got the point Apple was trying to make, but they didn't have to illustrate it in a destructive manner. Yeah, I would have done the exact same ad, but just in a cartoon filter. Just animate the whole thing, and you can show all of the, or it could be CGI. It could all be Blender 3D models, and you had to render it on a M4 Ultra Mac Pro. But it's all animated instead of actually. I think if it was all CGI, people wouldn't have been upset. Um, Apple doesn't actually care about the environment. It's just that it makes them look good. That may be so, but if that's the case, then the iPad reveal is still hypocritical. Like if you're gonna present yourself as a sustainable focused brand, even if you don't actually care, then you should at least be consistent with it. That was just like backwards, unnecessary waste. Four speakers in on the Pro instead of two on the Air. That's true. That's true. Forcing artists specifically to buy the new iPad Pros just for the Pencil Pro is very weird. Hover is essential for some artists, and the new barrel roll. I guess I really hope you're an artist that genuinely can utilize those features, because I'm kind of like, well, if that's really really important, we've never had it on an iPad before. So what were you getting by with this whole time? Um, but I'm having trouble with my printer today. What kind of printer do you? I don't own a printer actually. I probably should, but it's rare enough that I need to print something that I just don't own one. But I kind of hate all printers, to be honest with you. But the barrel roll feature is cool. I just I feel like if you care about those tiny details and like how you're writing and how you're painting, that you need it to land at a certain angle, and you're probably gonna care about having a higher refresh rate too. If you care about little details like hover and the orientation of the pencil before it touches the display, you're probably going to notice that you're drawing on a 60 hertz display. If you, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, artists out there. But does 60 hertz not matter for a lot of you? I would have thought if your goal is for the pencil to feel as true to life as a paintbrush as possible, then you would want a frame rate that's actually pretty responsive and closer to real life. Um, what if the ad was actually AI? Well, they could have said that and they instead apologized. Um, bring back those leather cases. Sorry, everybody's texting me when I go live. Uh, Hover is essential, but the new features are just a nice to have rather than essential. I guess it depends. I feel like the new iPad Pro is marketed towards those who already have a high end Wacom tablet or something. Probably. I do think there's likely a lot of people out there that just do not care. Like they've got the money. It's like whatever. I know it's an iPad that can't do a bunch of Mac like features despite having the silicon that could do all those Mac features. I just I've got what did James phrase it as? James Sanderloff. James Sanders Cedarloff, I believe, said in our members only stream yesterday. They've got more dollars than cents, you know? They've got lots of money and they're just like, if I'm going to buy an iPad, I might as well. Plus, with the Pros, at least, this is the first time they've brought an XDR panel to the smaller size. So, my guess is the 11-inch iPad Pro is going to be the more popular variant, because now the specs between the 11-inch and 13-inch Pros are basically identical. The 13-inch just has a slightly bigger screen, and it costs an extra $300 for an extra 2 inches of display. And your keyboard case now costs an extra $50 too, so it really stacks up. Um, what big brand would you like to see Apple buy? Mine is either LG so they can do Apple fridges and TVs, or Sony so you can have iOS on PlayStation. Ooh, yeah, the federal government would love that one. All the antitrust cases. I, you know me, I'm kind of the EV guy. I would love to see Apple acquire an electric vehicle company. There's talk that, who was it from? Reuters? Or no, it was Digitimes, I think, who doesn't have the best track record, but they have gotten certain things right. They said Apple was talking about partnering with Rivian. Maybe you don't consider Rivian to be a big company, but I just think the EV industry is so much more interesting than us fussing around about iPads and tablets. And I don't know. I just think the electric vehicle space is actually a lot more innovative, and there's a lot more change going on, and it's changing the way our roads work, and there's a lot more safety and environmental arguments to be made in that industry than there is in the stickers. How many emissions do those stickers cause? So I'd like to see Apple enter the EV space in some way. I don't care really how. It could be Lucid, it could be Rivian, it could be I don't care. If they just got involved in some way, I would be excited. Um, no, I didn't see the Dave 2D video. I probably should, huh? M2 iPad Pro is already a very good Wacom tablet alternative. No need for Apple Pencil Pro, really, even for professionals. Yeah, it really varies. I guess it's up to the professional. The other viewpoint that I should acknowledge is like it's not like bad that Apple releases these new iPads. It is very annoying that they software locked Well, we don't know for sure if it's a software lock. They probably could have made the Apple Pencil Pro backwards compatible, and they just kind of chose not to. Um, that's a little upsetting, but at a certain point, I think Apple is kind of like, well, we have to release something. We're going to be competing a lot with last year's model, but at the end of the day, when someone walks into an Apple store and wants to drop some money, we should make sure that they have a decent, a high quality tablet that's going to last them a long time. So they build in lots and lots of overhead with that M4 chip. So it is overkill. And same thing with the pencil. It's like, yeah, we've been selling the Apple Pencil 2 since 2018. Oh my God, wow. Okay, so it's been 6 years that we've been spending $130 on this same old pencil, which you can buy on Amazon for $80, by the way. It's the exact same thing. $80 if you need the Apple Pencil 2, which magnetically charges on the side. Um, so if people are spending $130 in 2024, they should probably get a newer pencil that can do a little bit more than the Apple Pencil 2. Just so we have, a good, decent option for those who are walking in the store, or they want a new one. They don't want a refurbished or used one for any reason. If you're spending that kind of money, you should get something pretty nice, I suppose. And I guess it's kind of hard to argue against the iPad Pros. I mean, the price is easy to argue against, but the feature set, it's like if you really, really want an OLED panel and you wanted that barrel roll feature, there's no other way to get it. We can't buy an. Well, I can't recommend you buy an older one because it's not going to have those things, right? My budget is $300. Pro needs to be at least 128. $300 is my limit. Just has to at least 5 to 6 years. The Air works. Your budget is $300. Okay. I'm thinking the Air 4 would maybe you could find an iPad Air 4 on Amazon for less than that. Ooh, Alpha might be buying an EV soon. Congrats, man. I hope you would like it. I got to hear more about that later. Nicholas Linthicum says, I would like to see Apple innovate in the game. Show market would love to see them acquire Sony Motion Pictures. That way they could have access to. Is that innovation? Just buying up someone else? I don't know. I feel like they would just boost Apple TV Plus memberships at the end of the day, but I want Apple to buy Nintendo. Ooh, yeah, that is kind of a hot take. I mean, they do a lot of similar business practices, but I don't think Nintendo wants to be bought. Um, People, they want to make money on PIN. What are you guys talking about? People are not realizing that the camera's not in the center. It's off to the left a little bit. I don't know if this is part of the reason. Yeah, I recommended that personally. I said, if you want the magnetic pencil to stay, just move the camera a little bit over. And they straight up did that. But my whole thought process was it should have been backwards compatible. To me, the webcam repositioning was not worth breaking the backwards compatibility with the pencils. If we could have left the webcam in the exact same place but kept the Apple Pencil 2 compatibility, I would have rather done that. What do I think of the new bundle with TV Plus, Netflix, and Peacock? Eh, I didn't see the price of it, but the bundling usually just makes you pay for things that you probably wouldn't have used otherwise. Um, but yeah, it's all cable TV. The goal is, you offer a discount and then you subscribe and then you get hooked on a show and then they raise the prices. It's the streaming wars are endless. Um, I've looked into building a NAS and just decided it's not really for me. I don't live in a very big house. I don't have a lot of space. Also, electricity is very expensive where I am. So I don't love the idea of paying for a big server that's kind of sucking power all the time. Um, and also, there's big trips we take where I need access to most of my footage locally. And it would be very hard to pull all of that from a server because sometimes I'm editing in places with very spotty internet, depending on where I am in the world. Um, let's see. I'm surprised the big Mac games like Resident Evil and Death Stranding aren't on Apple Arcade. Yeah, there's probably some business contract preventing that or something. Apple Silicon is just great in general. It could help a lot of different things, but yeah, I think Nintendo likes having control over all their stuff. I don't think Disney is merging with Max. Max is just the name of the big Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is huge, and I don't think interested in. There might be a bundle. There might be bundles where they collaborate with each other, but that doesn't mean the companies themselves are merging. Also, it gets a little confusing. It's all Disney Plus is already kind of a mess with how much content there is on there. You have kids movies and family shows, but then you got Hulu, and if you pay for Hulu, you can integrate that into the app, and you just have so much integration. I don't know if it's a good idea to put all the content within a super app. Um, I guess that's what Apple's trying to do with the Apple TV app, though, right? Paramount might be selling to Sony. Yeah, I've seen a million rumors like that. I don't know. It's all just talk until it actually happens. Most of those rumors end up not happening, to be honest. Wish Apple did their own hearing aid. It sucks that you can't stream music and have my hearing aid at the same music on at the same time with my earpod. Hey, add that to the small list of AirPod feature requests. Right. Hulu is on Disney Plus, so you've got R-rated content alongside the family content. It's kind of confusing and all over the place, but yeah. I kind of like them being separate apps, honestly. It's like, okay, if I've got my sister over, I've got family over, then we can look at Disney Plus. But if it's just me and my wife, then we can look at Hulu. I I don't love the idea of all of those different shows and movies being right next to each other. They could have channels. Oh, here's an idea. And with the remote, you could flip through the different channels. Wow, never thought of this before. Um, I agree. Apple and Nintendo are very similar companies, but so similar about how both of them like having control over their software and hardware that I don't think they would merge. I think Tesla and Apple also have a lot of similarities, but that doesn't mean they're going to merge either. Um, what is compatibility with third-party stylists like Logitech Crayon? I wouldn't buy first-party accessories. Everybody keeps talking about first-party. I don't know about the Crayon. I'm pretty sure that only works with the budget iPad, I think. Or no, it can work with other iPads, but it doesn't do like half the stuff the Apple Pencil does. Or yeah, make sure it's in kids mode. Streaming services are destroying cartoon channels like Disney Channel. The whole streaming industry is just a giant mess, and it's trying to figure out what it wants to be. That's why I don't watch a lot of content, to be honest. I watch more YouTube than anything because you can just instead of trying to watch, big studio budget crap that's buying up titles and buying up IP and merging it with other IP, and I don't know, I just there's not a lot of movies and TV shows coming out that I'm that interested in anyway. But on YouTube, you can just find individuals, like just people that feel like real people that are documenting their lives or their experiences or what their opinions are on certain things. And you can just watch the ones that are interesting and stop watching the ones that aren't interesting. And YouTube is like unlimited documentaries about everything you've ever cared about. You can find the tiniest niche of a niche, and there's a whole channel designated to just that one thing, and you can get as much of that genre as you want. It's cool. Um, the Wii U still supports Hulu, but does not have Disney Plus. God dang it! When do I think AI will be able to make movies? If your definition of movie is like 2.5 hour long feature film, possibly never. I'm not sure if it will get to that point. I think that's a big problem people have made with a lot of software advancements, particularly with AI, is they always expect the development to be exponential. When in reality, it typically makes big leaps, it makes a big jump, but then it levels out again, and it always tapers off. It becomes increasingly difficult to improve once it gets 90% of the way there, and then it becomes impossible to improve when it's like 95% of the way there. I've seen that with self-driving. I've seen that with chatbots. I've seen it with, chatbots with too much training. They can actually get dumber over time because of how humans train them and give them, they gaslight them and they give them false information and all that kind of stuff. So there's big leaps and bounds that can be made, but I don't think personally we'll get to the point where you could just type in some text, and then AI will crank out a 2.5 hour long movie that's like cohesive. I mean, sure, you could probably turn up the dial like they do right now and just say, make it last 2 hours, but will people know what's going on? Will it just be a confusing mess of imagery? Will there be main characters and dialogue? Will there be like a story arc where the character changes or the plot moves along and there's callbacks to earlier? Well, I guess Michael Bay movies don't do that anyway, and people watch those. So I don't know. Maybe it. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be particularly good. My point is, if they try to make AI, let's start with a TV show. Let's start with like AI trying to make a 20-minute sitcom. I don't think it's going to happen personally. I'm skeptical. I think AI is just making big leaps and improvements right now, so that's what we're all talking about. But within a couple of years, there will be some other tech trend that's taking off, and we won't be talking as much about AI. That's my guess. What do I think about Mint now that the T-Mobile acquisition is finally closed? Just gonna wait and see. So far, so good. I mean, I was a little skeptical. I thought it was a little sketchy that T-Mobile was allowed to just, buy out one of the main competitors. There were a bunch of people that switched to Mint Mobile because they were fed up with T-Mobile. But thankfully, it seems like the Mint Mobile management and account and billing and everything hasn't been touched. We're still using Mint Mobile, and T-Mobile happens to be in charge of it now. But if Mint Mobile starts changing things that I don't like, then I'll start getting angry. But so far I won't. I haven't seen anything that I'm annoyed by. 2022 Model 3s have the AMD chips. Yes, that's correct. Um, it will definitely be able to. Don't know how good the movie would be. Yeah, I mean, you could probably tell Sora now if they unlocked it fully to make some video that was 2 hours long, but it wouldn't be cohesive. It wouldn't really have a plot. It would probably just be a weird visualization. Margel says the whole mess with streaming is so ridiculous to the point where I don't discourage people from pirating content anymore, to be honest. Ah, that's when it becomes more of a tricky moral thing. Um, I tend to not encourage piracy because it's kind of a slippery slope. It's like, well, if I'm pirating this, I might as well pirate this, and the internet and the industry won't survive with everybody becoming digital pirates. It's kind of how you like close the loop. It's the same way I feel about ad blocking on YouTube. It's like, well, if everybody thought the way you did, there would be no YouTube, and then we wouldn't have this service that you clearly see value in because you're watching content on it. So it's kind of a selfish mindset to be like, well, other people can watch ads and pay for it, but I will not because I don't want to. It's kind of, yeah, Will Smith eating spaghetti. Um, it's kind of one of those like the rules don't apply to me. I hope they apply to everybody else, but I don't want to have to put up with what everybody else put up with. And yeah, I would say if you're fed up with the streaming services, I don't think piracy is necessarily the answer, but I would say, like, cancel the ones you don't like. If they get too expansive, don't watch the content on them. And also, there's a lot more of a resurgence lately in physical media, which I think is a bit more wholesome. It can still support the industry, it can support the people that worked on the project, and you do own it legally. So thrift stores, that's what my buddy started doing. He buys up Blu-rays in bulk. He can buy a bunch of them for like $5 at a thrift store and have a bunch of high resolution content, and he can watch it. And we go over to his place, and it encourages people to come back together again. This a little story I don't think I've shared publicly. I took some pictures of it here, but my friend, my best friend, basically is getting married very soon. So I hosted his bachelor party. Now we're not party animals. We're not even really party people. We're very simple guys. We most of the time just talk and hang out. We don't even like to go out to eat that much because going out to eat is so expensive. He prefers cooking from home anyway. So we're just kind of one of those chill relationships. We're not big party people. So when everybody was telling us that I'm the best man at the wedding, when everyone was telling us, you got to do a bachelor party, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't, probably something simple and fun. So what we did was we pulled out my cousin's old original Xbox, um, and he had Halo 2 on disc, and we just wanted to have some snacks, eat some food, and he plugged in this huge subwoofer and this amazing sound system to the original Xbox, and we played split screen uh, Halo with each other, with the most crazy, like, no shields, shotgun only on the tiniest map you could, and we were laughing and dying hysterically, and the sound was crazy loud, and we were all fighting against each other, and it was just, I think there's an art there that gets lost in a lot of this is more than just the gaming content, but a lot of streaming encourages people to kind of stay where they are. Just watch it on your tablets, watch it in bed, watch it on the couch. Uh, but the cool thing with kind of that physical media revival is the idea of bringing more people together. The fact that that Xbox that we pulled out of storage was able to boot up within minutes of getting power, didn't have an update, didn't need to download anything that takes hours and hours because your bit rate is low. Um, your download speed isn't great. No, you plugged it in, it booted up, you put the game in. The game didn't have 5 updates that needed to install. It didn't ask for an Xbox Live membership. It didn't ask for any of that. It was just you plug in the controllers, you press A to join, and they split the screen and we're together. We're all looking at a screen, but we're experiencing something together, and that makes it more fun, those in-person interactions. And in a similar way, it's like, oh, my buddy Ross picked up this new movie that I wanted to watch on Blu-ray. We're all going to get together and watch it at his place, rather than he pays $20 a month for Netflix and I pay $20 for a month for Netflix, and then we both watch it at our own houses, that kind of stuff. I know we didn't have Halo 3, that we only had Halo 2, but still, Halo 2 was great. It was hilarious. Split screen the other day, but couldn't figure out how to get it to work on games that claim to support it. Yeah, it was so simple. Everything just worked, and it was so much fun. And uh, I think all of this streaming and all of these ad supported plans and membership costs increasing is kind of pushing people more towards, let's check out some of this physical media that we were so quick to get rid of. Physical media would be the ideal alternative to streaming. The problem is companies don't make physical media for the shows that I like to watch. Yeah, that's where the difficult, do you want to do you want to steal the content, or do you want to not support it? Um, if you really like that show, I would argue, okay, that means that you value it, so you should pay for it, even if it's high. It's just apply it to any other thing. I could argue that a Snickers bar shouldn't cost $5 or something, but that doesn't make it okay for me to walk in and steal it. It doesn't have to be from a store. It could be from someone's bag, or something like that, where it's like, it's not a huge criminal offense, but it's still technically stealing. There's a product or a service that a company is making, and they set a price for it. You don't like that price. That doesn't mean it's okay to take it. But you have the ability to. I can't stop you. Um, what do you think? Why do you think Apple will put macOS on the iPad in June, yet they just updated their mobile version of Pro? What I didn't say I think they would do it. I just said they should do it. Those are very different things. I'm not predicting that they will add it to the iPad. I'm just saying that it's a good idea. Also, the Pro apps apply to older iPads as well. You can use those on Airs and Pros. And my suggestion was that it would only be on the 1 terabyte M4 iPad Pro. They've actually started, yeah, they started rehiring some of the supercharging team. That's true. How do I handle backups? Do you keep any old stuff archived? Mostly on the cloud. Most of my personal home videos and stuff I back up to an unlisted YouTube channel, so I can send links to everywhere, and I can cast it anywhere. And YouTube lets you upload as much content as you want for free, and they won't count it against you. You can upload 8K HDR 60 frames a second video that's 15 hours long, and YouTube will just hold it forever for free. It's pretty sweet. If they stop letting you do that, I'll have to think of something else. But for videos, I use YouTube. And for photos, I store a lot of stuff locally. I have some stuff on hard drives and some stuff on my computer and some stuff on the cloud. I use crappy third party cloud services, though. I don't use iCloud. Um, I should pay the amount they get from advertisers, not more. Well, they probably, it takes time and money for them to distribute everything, so they probably want their cut. But yeah, if we boycott it enough because of the high price, they'll have to bring it back down, right? I signed up for all my streaming services on Black Friday, so I got pretty good deals on all of them. So we're paying $2 a month for Disney Plus, $1 a month for Hulu, and I think like a dollar and 40 cents a month. It comes out. It was like $20 for the year for Peacock Premium. Um, they had all these Black Friday deals on the streaming services, so we loaded up on them and said, okay, let's just get everything over with. My cousin lets me use his Max account, but they're gonna start cracking down on password sharing, I think. So we might have to start pitching in for that. But I will admit, my wife and I are big fans of true crime shows, and there's a show on Max that I just love called Jinx. Why don't I use iCloud? Because it's not unlimited and it costs money. Um, if it was unlimited, it'd be a different story. But I know I used to pay for 2 terabytes of iCloud, but I quickly realized I'm gonna fill this up, and then I'm gonna have to go through things and delete. So I could either go through all my stuff and start deleting and pay no money, or I could pay $10 a month and still have to go through and delete stuff. So I was like, either way, the outcome is I'm gonna have to filter through this. So I'd rather just do it now and save the money. If there was an unlimited iCloud storage tier, that'd be a different discussion. Then it'd be like, okay, I'll never have to go through and delete this stuff. But because they don't have that, I don't want to pay for it. Pops up every time they're promoting a movie. Well, Ryan Reynolds owns a big chunk of Mint, and he made If. So, what do I think about pirating movies that you have purchased through an online service but just want to have your own copy that you can watch on any media player? Eh, it's messy, but I guess that's not as bad because you do technically you bought it. It's weird. I get it. That's all creepy and moral ambiguity. It's weird, but anyway, I got to get going. It's getting hot in here anyway. But we could talk about that subject because there's no real right answer in my opinion. We could talk about that all day. But I appreciate your guys' support. I'm glad I look healthy. That's what I'm going for. I want to look like I'm healthy. But thank you guys for your super chats and for tuning in. And I'm really thankful for you guys and your support. And I hope you have a excellent rest of your day. Take care, all. Bye bye.